What's up YouTube? Welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be looking at my 9950 X3D and how I have it set up in the BIOS. I have it overclocked and undervolted, and I'm going to show you step by step how I got to those results. Let me know down below if you have any questions, and hopefully you guys can achieve similar or even better performance. Thanks for watching. If you liked the video, make sure you like the video and consider subscribing for more content just like this. We'll see you guys in the next one. All right, so I'm gonna walk you guys through how I have my 9950 X3D set up in the BIOS. Pretty similar to what I was trying to run on my 9800 X3D. However, I applied the same settings that worked on my 9800 X3D, and they didn't work for this. It was unstable. At first, it wouldn't even post. So I started tweaking with some things, and eventually it got to a point where it's super stable. It's great performance in game. So first thing, I have my RAM set up at DOCP1. It's technically Intel RAM, so that's why it doesn't say Expo, but essentially it's the same thing. That's its default timings. So you'll see here DDR5 6000, 30, 36, 36, 76. And then in DRAM timings, which is DRAM timing control right here. Only change I've made is I changed the first timing to 28. So technically I'm running 6000 CL28, which helps with that first word latency and gives you really great performance in games. So you can get that. And I'm running a 2x24 gig kit. So if you guys are trying to copy this, I would just do things one step at a time. So put your 9950 X3D in, boot it without PBO, get your RAM into XMP, and then boot and make sure that you have that running, and then start adding things on layer by layer. And what that's gonna let you do is you're gonna find out exactly, you know, where the limit is, because if you try and do everything all at once, you might run into some problems and you don't know which thing actually caused the problem. Was it the XMP? Was it PBO? Was it the negative curve optimizer? So you want to do these things all one at a time to really figure out like the optimal tune for your CPU, because your CPU could be different than mine as well. So I don't really know how mine fares in conjunction with other 9950 X3Ds. This is just my experience from the chip that I have. I bought it just, you know, at the store, just like any of you guys. So anyways, that's the RAM. I have that set at 6000 CL28, and then I go to Precision Boost Overdrive and I click Enable. Then I go to Precision Boost Overdrive Scaler, switch that to manual, and then I put it on 10x. Okay, oops, 10x. Then on Clock Override, I enable this positive and I boost it up by 200. So essentially what that's doing is it's now telling the CPU that if it has thermal headroom, it can boost itself up to 200 megahertz higher than it would otherwise out of the box. So this can go up to 5.9 gigahertz on CCD1, and on CCD0, it could technically go up to, I believe, 5.65. So after that, you probably want to do that first, get into the BIOS, and then after that, you can go into your curve optimizer and your curve shaper. Previously, I had this on all core -20. So if you go in here, you can actually switch all core, and that's if you want to apply the same negative offset to every single core. But if you want to change that per core, which is what I ended up having to do, you'll click per core, and then you can set each one to whatever you want it to be. Now per core, what I noticed at -20 was that it just crashed. I couldn't get in. I got -10 to get in, but then once I was doing things, especially at low loads, it wasn't stable. I kept crashing, things like that. What I did is I was like, well, it's probably similar to the 9800 X3D. I can probably go -20 on the X3D chip, and then it probably just needs more voltage on the non-X3D chip. So what I did is I set -20 to cores 0 through 7. And what that allows us to do is just target that CCD that has the X3D, or that has the 3D cache, and then you throw a -20 optimizer on that. And then on the CCD without it, I put 0, and I'll tell you why in a second. But basically, I'm running that at a stock voltage on that CCD. So if it's on that, it's running just how it would out of the box. And I tried it with more than that, and I didn't really notice too much. Mainly what I do with this chip is gaming. I will be doing some video editing on it as well. Right now I'm doing that on my stream and editing PC, which has a Core Ultra 7 265K. So I'm interested to do that. So that's the curve optimizer. Then there's something called curve shaper. So basically, whenever I crash, it's at really low loads. I leave that all on auto. And then when it gets to like a medium frequency or medium load, I am now adding more of a negative offset to the voltage. So when it's at medium frequency and above, I have everything at -10. So basically, that's gonna drop my 3D cache to -30 offset under those load conditions, and then it'll drop my standard CCD chip to -10 offset under those conditions. And that allows me to run a -10 and then essentially a -30 overall on this chip, and it's been rock solid. The performance has been great. I see in game some of the cores are boosting up to like 5.5. Single threaded applications when it's on CCD1 are up at like 5.9. So really impressed. I mean, this thing I feel like has so much more horsepower than the 7950X3D did, and just pretty cool. You know, I probably don't need to run this chip on my gaming computer. 9800X3D would work just fine, but it's just a lot of fun. I really like this chip. It's cool having 16 cores, having almost like 2 CPUs combined in one. It's pretty exciting stuff, and I hope AMD keeps it coming with this stuff. But anyways, if you guys are trying to do this yourselves, do this step by step and make sure that each thing is stable. You guys can run Prime 95 or Blender or Cinebench or anything that's going to be really CPU intensive on this setup, and just make sure it's stable. I ran Prime 95 for over an hour. A lot of people will even run that overnight just to make sure. But I ran that, I ran Ada 64, all works really well. So however you guys want to do it, but let me know. I mean, can you guys get a better offset than what I got out of your 9950X3D? Are you overclocked higher than 200 megahertz? But I think this is a really stable overclock and undervolt for just everyday use and gaming and everything. I think it's going to be rock solid for you. So hope it helps.